Yeah, mate, we got hards on. We're going to the end.
Oh, Fernando Alonso. Oh, Fernando Alonso. I don't know why I'm doing like a weird mix of a northern English accent with like a little bit of Spanish. Fernando Alonso. That's how we're gonna start this by just saying the man's name, Fernando Alonso, and then by saying George Russell's name, George Russell. This is hard zone. We get them hard. To be fair, it's been flaccid again. Another week where I just think not been hitting, not being given what it was meant to have gave, as the kids say. Um, yeah. If we walk through it, if we walk, should we do this chronologically or should we just give opinions? Because I don't want to lie to you guys. I want to be real and I want to be honest. I'm not in love with this week, and I don't know if the races are actually boring. Like, when I think back, there was a lot of good battles in that first race, like Hamilton, Alonso. Other ones, probably, I don't remember. Probably Leclerc. There was good stuff happening. And probably this one as well. But actually, I think this track, there's a few problems with it. I do remember now from last season and now this season. The whole, everyone just overtakes on the straight on that. It's kind of like Catalonia. Everyone kind of just overtakes on a straight, and it would be boring because it was like you'd catch up through the whole track, but there's no really to get overtake. You catch up, and then you get to that final chicane, and then you'll get to the final straight, and then the exits. It's just hard to get. You have to make sure your final corner on that little chicane thing is perfect if you want to overtake on the straight, and it just becomes like so boring. And this one's like similar in a way that's like most of the time people try not to overtake on the corner just before the straight because the DRS is so overpowered, and yeah. So I don't know if I like the track that much, to be honest. I know there was a lot of good drama. I think last year they were saying anyway. I don't really remember it, if I'm being honest. Or maybe there's talking about the year before. But yeah, when it was close that season, I think when maybe Verstappen brake checked Hamilton. Can't remember. But I can't tell if the races have actually been boring, or if the people I root for just haven't been doing well, and therefore I've been less invested while watching. And just to remind the people that I am interested in, it's comical, especially looking at this week. But Alexander Albon, DNF, Oscar Piastri, I guess, and Lando Norris, yeah, just battling it out in P16, 17. So that's great. I mean, well done to Piastri. I guess he got past Norris, or Norris let him pass because he was quicker, and then got Sargent, but another rookie. I guess also root for Hamilton. He was like fifth, but, nothing to phone home about, and obviously I wanted to do better than Russell. Russell was ahead of him and out-qualified him for the second week in a row. So yeah, just not a lot good going on for me. Yeah, and every week I kind of just hope whoever wins. So I'm like Harry Potter under the sorting hat. Please don't let it be slithering. Anything but slithering. But instead, I'm just praying for anyone can win at this point. Beggars can't be choosers. Just please, anyone but Red Bull. And then he's like, let it be Red Bull. And then I just sort of go fuck, because I think you're living in a tough. It's a Red Bull world, and we're all living in it. Because I know you're living in a tough world. When you see Verstappen in P14, P15, and think he's probably favourite to win. Yeah, he was probably favourite to win, and he was only behind Checo in the end. He was like, for Checo, great race, Checo. I lost it, but that's kind of how Horner sounds. Behind Checo, who started pretty much at the front. No, at the front, right? He was on pole. Yeah, man. Yeah, it just feels like, is this going to be every race this season? Checo and Max at the front, then Mercedes battling with Ferrari, and then Alonso doing podium finishes, and Stroll finishing like 7th kind of range. I know he DNF today, but that kind of just feels like what the whole season's going to be, and it upsets me. Like, I know they keep saying, Mercedes, this is Toyota, Mercedes, we're going to have a different car, don't think this will be our car. By race week 6 or 7, we're going to have a completely different looking car. That's terrible. And then they keep saying McLaren by about Barcelona or whenever. their car should have a lot of upgrades and be different. But it's just like, how fucking different can it get? You can't turn a fucking milk cart into a fucking Lamborghini. Maybe you could, but I reckon it's going to take you lots of time and a lot of dosh, which, I mean, technically these teams have kind of both of, but I just don't know. If we just brush over qualifying real quick, I've came to realise qualifying is only fun. Like, no matter how boring I kind of find it at times, I will never not watch it, because you have to watch it. Like, but the issue is with qualifying is it's only interesting for about 60 seconds. The last 20 seconds of Q1, the last 20 seconds of Q2, and the last 20 seconds of Q3. Because for the first like 8 minutes of Q1, it's just watching people drive around. It's like watching practice. And then finally you start to see the laps that matter. Like, I don't really care. Like, Sargent could put it P1 in the first 8 minutes of Q1. But ultimately, when we get to the final two, everyone's going to be doing that properly, and the tyres warm up, and the track's found in heat, and everyone, all green sectors are purples are popping up everywhere, right? And then we get what actually is to be. But for those 60 seconds, it is great, because obviously you're on the edge. I get hot. I think my heart rate goes higher in qualifying than it does in a race, probably in general, because when it does get to those moments, I'm like, please, 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 fuck, it's Red Bull again, you know? Or it's usually when I'm rooting for someone to do well, and I'm watching them drive, and I'm like, just don't mess up, just out-qualify George, you know? So that's kind of how it's been. I mean, obviously Norris had made contact, so was last. Like, the only reason Verstappen wasn't on pole was mechanical issues. I was even kind of rooting for Stroll to get that pole. At the end, they was really gassing him up, and he kind of just fucked it. He didn't even improve. But I was like, will Stroll be on? But no, he's P7 still, because he did a purple first sector and a green second sector, but then he just fucked in the final sector, I guess. So yeah, that was qualifying, and then into the race. I'm managing expectations now. I know it's sort of wild for me to expect anything but Verstappen winning, so I'm just kind of trying to be like, okay, I just want Hamilton to finish out ahead of Russell. I don't have anything against Russell, but I want Hamilton to do better than him. That's all. So I can't lie. I shed a tear when they took Alonso's P3 away from him, especially because they gave him a 10-second penalty. I thought it was going to be a 5-second penalty. He made the 5 seconds. Like, George was like, I'm driving like a man. George, like, that is one thing that bothers me about George. Like, his radios, for some reason, bother me. Like, he has this kind of uppity kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, last week when it's weird because I find them funny. I don't know if I find them annoying yet, actually. I just know I find them amusing in some way, and I haven't quite put my finger on it yet, but I'll let you know when I do. But like last week when he was driving behind Hamilton, he was like, so is this guy just slow then, or is he saving his tyres? Because what's up? Like, let me overtake, because he's ruining my race here. And then this week when they're like, yeah, we think Hamilton should go past you, and he's like, no, I've got a race to think about here, guys. I've got a race to think about. Alonso might still have a 5-second penalty. Think about that. And they're like, he served the penalty already. And he's like, shit. You got to tell me this, guys. And it's just like, what was the other thing he said? That was worse than all two of those. I can't remember. Give me a minute. I don't know, but guys, I'm driving. What was his exact phrasing? I'm giving him hell. I'm driving like an absolute. Guys, let me know, because I'm driving like an absolute madman right now. It's just like, I remember when George was really gassed to finally be in Drive to Survive, because he was like, "Guys, you've barely been featuring me." And then when he finally got into it, he was like so like self-aware, like, I'm in Drive to Survive. I could be like the star of this season. I could have memes about me and stuff. Is this my Bottas moment? He says, like, all these other things. It's like, I don't know. George Russell kind of has that kind of speech sometimes. So it's like he's aware of the situation, and that people, millions of people around the world who are listening to what he's saying. I got to sound like a badass, as he'd say. Yeah, no, I got nothing against George. I actually really liked him at Williams. The only issue is you're up against Hamilton right now, and I'd love Hamilton to just be just that position ahead of you every step of the way. This week wasn't to be, and yeah, it's a shame. We live and we learn. We have those moments. Everybody has those days. I don't know what that's from. But yeah. So I shed a tear when Alonso, because I'm not even an Alonso fan, but it's just like the idea of George getting a podium, keeping Hamilton behind him, and just sort of having a good race hurts me. So when Alonso lost that podium and George got it, and also I think what Alonso did was fair. Like, you had 35 laps to tell me that. You had me driving like crazy. You then let me get up on the podium, spray the champagne, celebrate with my team, have that moment, make those speeches, and you're like, nah, you're not having it. Like, what the fuck? Like, do your jobs better. You know, I think it was right to say that. And also, harsh penalty, 10 seconds. I don't know about that. Like, so I shed a tear when George got it, and then Mercedes posted that smug little picture of George like, first podium of the season. Get in there. But then, that tear that I shed was of sadness. But oh boy, did it quickly turn to pure joy and ecstasy, as they then did the bait and switch, the double double, and said, they sort of said, you want it? Can't have it. You want it? Can't have it. Oh, George, do you like this? Would this look nice on your mantelpiece? Okay, well, it's going back to Alonso. We'll let you hold it for a while, though. Hold it? Weighty. I know. You can see your face in it. Shiny. Now let's give it back to Alonso. And I just thought, well, that's kind of made me... That feels like a win, kind of. Even though it's just... Nothing's really happened. We've just been restored back to the default. It, in a way, kind of feels like a win. So, yeah. Again, George, nothing against you, mate. If Hamilton won that race and was in P1, I need you to understand, I wouldn't have cared either way. It's just like, it wasn't. He just wasn't. But yeah, George is he's the new young guy, and it's to be expected. McLaren's had a stinker. Ferrari's low-key had a stinker. And Red Bull's got the 1-2. So that could be something we say multiple more times this season. I've only been speaking for 12 and a half minutes. Well, I thought I've been going for like 20. I think it's because I just did another one of these for someone else before this. So that's why my throat is so dry. But yeah, I don't know. That's something. See, this is the type of thing I should be checking before starting this. What race is coming next week? Is there a race next week? I think there is, which makes me happy to know. Or are they going to make us do another week after next thing? Because that's not fair. We just did that. Don't do that to me, Formula 1. Especially because international break in football right now, I didn't even know we had one coming. They just sneak up on you. They sneak up on you. They're like little cancer cells. You snip them out, you get rid of them. The cancer's gone. Hallelujah. You celebrate, and then they come back like a lump under my armpit. Sorry if anyone has cancer. Sort of, they need to bring that up. But it's true, I don't like international break in football. I like England playing. Don't get me wrong, I love England playing. I probably get more emotional sometimes watching England play in tournaments than I do with even Chelsea. But these are relevant fucking... I don't care if it's UEFA Nations League, because we're not even in... If it's in a final to win something, even if it's a fucking new trophy they just made, Tim Pot thing, I don't fucking care. It would just be nice. But we're not playing Italy in what is essentially a friendly. So yeah, sure, we'll watch that. But I'm praying for Formula 1 races next week, because it's just like, come on. This is the great thing about having Formula 1 as well, though. For those moments like international break and just whatever's, you got someone else in your life to just sort of give you joy. At the moment, give me pain. But I don't know what race is next week. I think Australia, Melbourne, which is going to be a nice, it's just going to be a nice, break, I think, from, we've had Bahrain. Was it Bahrain? We had, Saudi Arabia. I'm really upset because I feel like I used to be able to do, an Australian accent, because an Australian accent's, really easy to do, I feel like. But as I'm speaking right now, I realise this sounds like absolute dog shit. And I feel like it's absolutely dreadful. But, yeah. Melbourne would just be a really nice change. I've got nothing against, really, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Middle Eastern countries. You've got that oil. Fair play to you, lads. fair play. That's all I'll say. But I do find it a bit boring, sporting events out there. That's all I'll say. I've got nothing against the nation, but I find sporting events out there a little bit boring. And I don't know, all these night races, I get a bit bored of. Sunny Australia, it's a different vibe. That's even if it is in Australia next week. But I feel like it might be because Melbourne's usually pretty early. I look forward to that. If I was to make predictions for that should be something I probably do, right? Is predictions for next week. I've clearly not thought this out that well. But my prediction, if we're being honest, because when I did my predictions for the season, I said this at the time, but they were all predictions that were basically wants, not predictions. Like I said Hamilton to win in a prediction. So clearly, and I said it, but clearly these are just me manifesting, putting good energy out there, right? Which has clearly done fuck all so far. Look, if I have to predict it, I'm saying Verstappen's going to win, Leclerc P2, and you know what? I'll chuck him a bone. Hamilton P3. And you know what? Maybe even a McLaren might get a point. Hey, I know. Let's not go crazy, but am I tipsy? I'm crying behind this mask, guys. But yeah, this was Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Well, that's not what this was. If you thought that's what this was, I'm sorry, but this is just a guy talking. This is me talking about the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And on the hards on, because we're going to the end. Thank you. See you next week.